Welcome to the Explainer. So if you're managing complex schedules, you already know that setting your initial baseline is really only half the battle. Today, we're stepping into a true masterclass on creating defensible, highly accurate mid-project baseline revisions right in Microsoft Project. Because let's face it, a baseline isn't just a rough guide, it is a financial and temporal contract. And knowing exactly how to correctly revise a baseline mid-flight is absolutely what separates the novices from the pros. So grab a coffee and get ready to take some notes. Let's kick things off with a fast-paced reality check. Does your baseline still reflect reality? Really think about it. Scope creeps in, a client asks for just one more feature, inevitable weather delays happen, and suddenly that pristine historical snapshot you took on day one is completely out of sync with your actual on-the-ground progress. At a certain point, comparing your current progress to that original plan just entirely stops being useful. Okay, let's dive into this. When your baseline is broken, your schedule starts practically shouting at you through a few very specific symptoms. You're going to start noticing out-of-sequence logic, unsatisfied relationships, where tasks are starting before their mandatory predecessors are actually finished, and brand new scope that just isn't captured anywhere in your variances. You might even spot remaining durations that are completely unrealistic at this point. If you're seeing these red flags, your baseline is broken, and it is definitely time for a revision. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with when your baseline breaks, then move into the two-part protocol. Part A on preparing the schedule, and Part B on de-statusing the model. After that, we'll cover executing this in MS Project, mastering the baseline slots, and finally, getting to that defensible, clean baseline. Section 1. When your baseline breaks. Here is a hard truth, and honestly, it's a trap I see so many planners fall into. Just resetting dates without correcting the underlying logic creates an undefensible, quote-unquote, renamed copy, not a true baseline. It's kind of a lazy mistake. If you just override dates to make things look pretty without actually fixing the predecessor and successor links, your schedule will absolutely fail under an audit or claim scrutiny. You're essentially just erasing history without creating a valid new control plan. No way around it. Section 2. Part A. Prepare the schedule. And this brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy of this protocol, which breaks down into two very distinct phases. On the left, Part A is entirely about fixing the logic. It's repairing the relationships and aligning the plan with reality. Then on the right, Part B is all about stripping away the actuals. That means removing any progress you've already logged so you can create a pristine, clean model that we can actually use as a brand new baseline. So what does Part A actually look like in practice? Well, first, you've got to correct any out-of-sequence logic, then adjust your remaining durations so they make sense for the actual work left to do. You'll apply any global change rules necessary, meaning those bulk updates to constraints or calendars across the entire project. And crucially, I absolutely cannot stress this enough, you must obtain formal sign-off and approval. Remember, a baseline is an official, locked snapshot. It is your committed plan. You should never, ever change a baseline without formal change control and stakeholder approval. Section 3. Part B. De-status the model. Now, what's really interesting about this is the absolute first, non-negotiable step you must take: save a separate copy. Literally, save your scheduling model under a brand new project ID. Once you've safely quarantined this new copy, add your primary constraint columns to your layout before you touch a single cell of progress data. Why? Because you need to visibly verify that no hidden date constraints are secretly overriding your logic. This protects the integrity of your data before you start wiping it clean. Next, we're going to take things a bit slow for these final, vital steps of de-statusing. You must strip out the actual progress, and then you reset the data date so that it equals your project start date. Once that data date is reset, you press F9 or hit your recalculate button to run the schedule. Verify the results. Check that all tasks are sitting right at 0% complete. What you're left with is a completely clean, de-statused model containing all your new approved logic, totally ready to be tracked against going forward. Section 4. Executing in MS Project. All right, let's get into the software. First, make sure you're in your Gantt chart view so you can clearly see your tasks and timeline reacting to the changes you're about to make. Navigate right up to the Project tab on the ribbon at the top of your screen. From there, go over to the Schedule group. Click that Set Baseline drop-down menu and just choose Set Baseline. A dialog box will pop up, and right here is where you make some critical strategic choices for your schedule's future. Inside that dialog box, you have to choose exactly what you're baselining. Updating the entire project refreshes absolutely everything. It completely replaces all baseline data with your current schedule. But if you only have a minor authorized scope addition, you'll want to use selected tasks. This lets you append specific new scope to the baseline without overwriting the stable historical areas of your project. As one MS Project expert notes, when we do this, we aren't actually overwriting the baseline, we're just appending it with new authorized information. So the crucial point is this: if you use that selected tasks option, you absolutely must remember the checkboxes at the bottom of the dialog. Always check roll up baselines, specifically to all summary tasks and from subtasks into selected summary tasks. If you forget this step, your high-level executive reports are going to be incorrect, and your costs will detach from the new scope. This super easily forgotten step is what ensures your nested subtasks correctly flow up, meaning your summary task baseline dates and costs stay perfectly accurate for reporting.
Section 5. Mastering the baseline slots.
Let's move to and see how this builds across the software itself. Microsoft Project actually supports 11 separate baselines. They range from baseline 0, which is unnumbered and acts as your main control plan, all the way up to baseline 10. This means you literally never have to lose your project's history. And if you're using Microsoft Project Online, administrators will very often lock down slots 0 through 5 as protected baselines just to ensure enterprise-wide reporting consistency. Meanwhile, slots 6 through 10 are usually left unprotected for you to use for interim snapshots and scenario testing. Section 6. A defensible, clean baseline. I want to read a rather profound insight straight from our source material today, and it goes like this. This is one of those things nobody explains properly until you've had to defend a baseline in a claim. That carries a lot of gravity, doesn't it? Following this two-part protocol, correcting the logic, formally destatting the schedule to 0% complete, and deliberately managing your baseline slots in MS Project protects you legally and professionally if a dispute ever arises. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to reflect on as you look at your own current project schedules. Is your revised baseline actually ready to survive an audit? If you aren't 100% sure, well, it might be time to put the two-part protocol into action today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy scheduling.